Welcome back to March Malcontent, Episode 5. For anyone who's new here, this is the pre-season we do before the April Anger Tournament. We are still in the phase where everyone who wins one of these matches will get a guaranteed seat into the tournament. We've got Lucina against Terry. We're on the Final Fantasy VII stage. This stage was made before they started not rebooting Final Fantasy, remaking Final Fantasy VII with some sort of weird futuristic timeline. Especially, oh, that's a very quick kill from Lucina. Spike at the ledge. Very hard to live that. Especially because Terry's recovery, it's, I guess, average. Maybe I'd say it's slightly below average, at least in terms of verticality, it definitely is. But he has a bunch of horizontal moves, so he doesn't normally need as much vertical. So if he gets sent low, he's not making it back. Jab Jab Power Dunk, Terry special. It does get him a stock, but he's now at 70%, so he has a bit to make up. Terry does, however, once he hits 100%, he gets his Go Meter, which lets him activate special moves. Not like standard B special moves. Hey look, Go Meter. They use command inputs, and they hit like a truck. Alright, Terry does not grab the ledge. I was going to say that I can assure you that Terry, the amiibo, can use his command input specials. I've seen him do it, I can personally verify that, but he does have to live to 100%. A character like Lucina usually has pretty strong fundamentals, not particularly lacking in any specific department, and killing at an appropriate percent is one of those departments. That being said, Terry usually hits pretty hard. He auto-healed just under the threshold to have the Go Meter. That is a slight annoyance that the amiibo have to worry about. Well, the Terry amiibo, that since his is strictly based off of if he's at 100% or not. Other meters usually build when you deal or take damage or other such requirements. But if Terry were to, for example, be playing in a casual Smash mode, find a Maxim Tomato and heal 50%, he can't use his Go Meter. Whereas a lot of other characters would keep their special limit bars. Now that I think about it, most of the DLC characters have some sort of comeback mechanic. Will Terry recover this time? He barely does. At like the exact limits of the recovery. That ult move was like 3% away from killing Terry. He still hasn't used any of these super special moves. And he doesn't use a side B to recover there, so he couldn't grab the ledge. That was a pretty quick battle, not gonna lie. Lucina wins. You'll see her in the tournament. Alright, up next we have Zelda against R.O.B, Japanese R.O.B with the American skin. Quick note about his nickname, you can see it's R.O.B JP. For some reason the Switch doesn't let you put J in parentheses. At least in R.O.B's name, I didn't test it on all the other amiibo. I think it's related to some sort of profanity filter thing? I can't tell you why though. Maybe it's like a racial slur in South Dakota or something. Anyways, this is the physical amiibo of R.O.B with the Japanese coloration. I don't normally like to give amiibo the coloration of the actual amiibo themselves. First of all, it does kind of ruin the point if someone else picks that color first. And secondly, they let you pick one, so I usually try to pick the coolest coloration. Thing is, with R.O.B specifically, since I learned about him through Brawl, I actually still mentally think of him as the Japanese version, because that's the version I am much more familiar with, even though the American version has the gray coloration. And R.O.B is one of the few characters who actually got multiple colorations of amiibo, even if, for R.O.B, like, the only physical difference is, like, the colors they painted him with. It is technically a different amiibo, and since I love the character anyway, of course I'm picking up both of them. So I thought it would be Honestly, I kind of did it because it was confusing, and I could, to make the name line up with the opposite physical amiibo. Which, again, this is probably going to be less confusing for everyone else, especially if you don't know about the colorations and which one's which, because you guys aren't dealing with the actual physical amiibo. So I guess you'd have to take my word on it. Unless, actually, if you watch the first year of April Anger, which you can, I will warn you that I had to record it using a cell phone camera, because I did not yet have a capture card. That's kind of how everyone has to start on the internet, unless you're rich. But yeah, it's recorded on a cell phone camera, so you can physically verify which ROB is which, even though I think back then they only had the one. I did upload that video to YouTube. I had to do them all at once. I figured nobody would want to watch 30 different videos from 4 years ago. And honestly, I was kind of right. Alright, Lightning Tick is not going to kill R.O.B. That's not like the official name of the move, at least I don't think it is. But if you do get the sweet spot of Zelda's forward and backwards aerials, you get a stronger version. Oh, R.O.B goes for an up air out of down throw instead of anything that would have killed Zelda, and R.O.B is already dead. Another quick match. That round goes to Zelda. Alright, up next we have Rosalina against Sora. Yes, I know it may sound uncharacteristic of me, but I finally got an amiibo at release again. All the others kept selling out. Granted, Sora was available longer than a lot of the other limited time DLC characters. And the Nintendo stores actually brought back some of the harder to find ones like Joker, finally, and Terry, in case you missed him. For some reason this last month or two they have been really keen on bringing back all their old amiibo. The Nintendo shop actually has like 40 of them available. They honestly might have been able to do that since they ran out of DLC amiibo they had to manufacture. And now that they're no longer manufacturing one amiibo for the entire world, they can manufacture like 40 of them for, you know, whoever wants them on whatever time scales they want. One that's been especially impressive is that the Splatoon 2 and the Splatoon 3 amiibos have off and on been sold out and then been restocked over and over and over again. So either they're incredibly popular or they only have one at a time and some guy keeps buying it. But I would expect it's just very popular. And to be fair, Splatoon is basically the only... It's not like the only, but it's like the first-person shooter game for Nintendo. But instead of being solely about just shooting people, which there are, especially in like the mid-2010s, there were just so many of those games. So having a game that's different and is still, you know, updated, at least Splatoon 3, like, Splatoon 2 is not getting updated, but that's because they made a whole new game. Can't really fault a series for that. Like, oh no, our games aren't getting updated, even though we're getting so many sequels. Oh, okay, so Sora did not fall off the edge there. I was worried he was going to. That's something I always have to worry about with these amiibo. Their situational awareness is just a little bit lacking. Now we are on a pretty small stage here. I would say this is definitely to Sora's anti-benefit? Detriment, there we go, there is a word for it. Can Rosalina make that? She, for some reason, did not hug the stage when she did that. She went the other way, but she is still alive. Anyways, this is not to the benefit of Sora, because Sora is a floaty character who definitely excels, like, off stage. But on this stage, there isn't that much off stage. So, like, edge guarding is not something you need to do nearly as much. And since one of Sora's weaknesses is that he's lightweight, it means that he is getting killed off the side a lot more. I mean, I guess you don't have to take my word for it, it's already been happening most of this match. Granted, this match has gone pretty quick, probably because of the stage size, but Sora is a good hit away from death. Rosalina keeps not recover. Okay, so you can choose when you use her up special how to recover. Now, I will say that trying to B reverse it and still angle it upwards is actually surprisingly difficult. But you don't have to, because you can just hold up B and then the direction you want. Like, it will launch you across like an entire stage, because the maximum angle you can set it at is somewhere like 45 degrees above horizontal. So if you do that into the stage, you basically guarantee that you're not going to under or overshoot it, at least on a stage like this where the sides of it are just so long and flat. But Rosalina has not been doing that, and she has almost died multiple times because of it. But you could also argue that she has lived up until this point. Oh, if that was an up smash, I would have killed Sora. Alright, Rosalina not using any of the super advanced Luma traps, but she gets the sour hit of Luma's down air to launch Sora off the side. Rosalina makes it in. Alright, up next we have Ice Climbers against Corrin II. So yes, I'm sorry to say I couldn't think of a good pun for having two Corrins in the April Anchor tournament. Corrin 1, Corrin 2, like, I just had nothing. So I went with some sort of, like, genealogy thing going with, like, how, you know, sometimes people are named, like, the third or the fourth, usually when they're, like, monarchs, because they can't risk naming their child something that hasn't already been a king of England. And I guess Corrin's character, especially since I don't know everything about her game. I probably should play one of these days, but it's on 3DS, I'm pretty sure, so that complicates things. Not that it's, you know, impossible to play, but it's a little bit harder to find. Like, they're not going to put on the Nintendo Switch Online or anything. I don't know everything about Corrin's game, however, I'm pretty sure that she... So, one of the main premises is that Corrin is a kid who was, like, basically lost at birth from her first family and adopted by a second family. So one of the major plot points of the game is, like, who do you side with? And, from what I understand, you did have to side with someone until they eventually made alternate routes to play through the game, either their DLC or possibly an extra bundle, or maybe they're just an update. Either way, there is now I want to call it like the pansy out option, where instead of making the tough choice, you just go for the guaranteed happy ending. Which, I can't speak for how happy it is, but it's a lot happier than if you have to pick, like, one side or the other. And at least one of those sides, Corrin is effectively in the ruling class. Because, you know, you can't make drama without making the spiky-haired protagonist some sort of royalty. So Corrin definitely has that, kind of, which helps allude to the name pun. But also, since there's two of them and they're basically so alike. Anyways, I stand by my choice. Both characters have lost the stock now. I better start talking about the actual match. Alright, we are in Corneria again. I mean, we've been on it many stages many times before. If you ever wanted to play this game and never play on the same stage twice, it would take a little bit, because there's like 100 stages in the game, and that's if you don't make any custom ones. But you would eventually be at the same location in this game. But it is impressive how many stages they were able to fit. I'm pretty sure if you count them all up, there's only like 6 or so that didn't make the cut. And usually those are all the ones that were very problematic, especially for characters who did not have high mobility. Well, so basically the fastest of moving stages. Alright, everyone's just kind of missing. Oh, never mind. The Ice Climber's got a kill. The Ice Climber's up air is pretty great, I gotta say. Because the second Ice Climber hits after the first Ice Climber, what that means is basically it's a lot safer of a move than you'd think. Normally, if you hit a move, you have to wait for it to finish in order for it to conclude. But with the Ice Climbers, the first one will hit. You will hit the... assuming you hit the other player. Then the second Ice Climber will hit. That Ice Climber will also hit the other player. And then certain factors, like, for example, hit stun and hit stop, which is basically whenever a move connects with another player, there's just a little bit where the game slows both of you down, kind of to help you interpret, like, hey, I actually hit this person. And it's pretty noticeable on, like, the stronger moves, because they have more of those going on. So if you have a very strong, say, charged smash attack, you'll hit an opponent and you'll both be stuck there for just a little bit longer, kind of to help emphasize the strength of the blow. Except, of course, if you're Kazuya, who has, like, none of that as part of his character. So this is the benefit to the Ice Climbers, because the second Ice Climber is going to go through all that. The first Ice Climber doesn't. Like, even if you hit the opponent and then both of the Ice Climbers hit, the first Ice Climber gets to start doing whatever they want to do, while the second Ice Climber is still going through all of that standard fare. Ooh, great tech from the Ice Climbers. Something to note is that when they're separated and AI has to take over, and I mean AI like the computer playing this game, not like what everyone uses artificial intelligence for nowadays when they're like trying to write essays and stuff. So the game will have to run the second Ice Climber for you when you're separated, because there's no way you could manage both of them, and they need your second Ice Climber to catch up to your first one. So you don't get to control if your second Ice Climber techs if you're separated. Alright, Corrin's gonna take that game. And I hope I didn't offend too many Fire Emblem fans. Alright, up next we have Samus against Marth. Once again, both of the characters have the same color scheme. These are, however, some of the oldest amiibo in the collection. So anyone who's a long-time fan will have gotten to see these, well, both of these amiibo for quite some time now. Hope you guys aren't sick of them yet. Although I guess you get to see them for like 6 matches at most. Well, usually at most, out of a year. So I really don't see how you could be tired of them. Alright, looks like we're on Pokemon Stadium. Marth totally just whiffs that up smash. Samus would have had to run off the ledge to land into it. And surprise, surprise, she did not. Ooh, getting a good follow-up on that up air combo. Getting a very high spike, Marth is just barely not able to make it back up for that. That was a pretty early spike. I guess Samus did have a little bit of rage building up. But still, that's just really early, hard to make it back from. Up B is not going to kill Samus, she got a jump back. She does not have it though, because she did not actually grab the ledge. You can see that her grapple beam was attempting to grab the ledge, but until your character like actually touches it with their hand or whatever they use instead of their hand, for like the 3 exceptions that don't have hands in this game. No, I'm going to take that back. There's a couple more exceptions than 3. Anyways, your character needs to physically grab the ledge with their hand in order to get their jump back, which is... Your character needs to touch the stage back in order to get any jumps that they lost. Part of what makes 2-framing a character, which is when you hit them in the 2 frames it takes your character to actually grab the ledge. And Samus got another very high spike. I guess you gotta establish a calling card if you want to be memorable, but wow. Anyways, 2-framing. Very dangerous, because if you have to use any of your jumps to get back and you get hit, you don't get any of those back. Some characters do get special moves back when they are hit. That's on a case-by-case basis, though. Like, I really can't go through all of them. But in general, if you have any move that puts you in special fall, the limiting factor is usually that you've been put into special fall. Any moves that don't are, again, on a... You're just gonna have to look them up. I can't go over it. There's no general rule. Alright, Samus does get... Marth gets a kill on Samus there. Gets the up air. I think it was a tipper. And last hit of Up Smash is going to kill Marth. I'll talk about his sword another day, I guess, because this match is over and Samus is making it to the tournament. Alright, next up we have Sonic against Mega Man. The blue blur against the blue bomber. And of course, what are the odds they're both black? In the game. Like, their actual figures are both blue. So it's a little weird that their colorations both ended up being exactly the same. Well, with the same main color, I guess. Anyways, so Sonic excels a lot more on very long stages, simply because he can run fast enough, he can always catch up to people. Something he can do that most other characters usually can't manage is Sonic can hit you away and then run up to you at about the same time you're out of your tumble state. Like, most other characters cannot get fast enough to reach you, and Sonic jumped out of that. That's really bad to do, that'll get you killed a lot. So usually when you combo people, you hit them and then they're close enough to you that you can still damage them. But Sonic will launch you to the other side of the stage and then be there when you get there. Kind of a fun trait about the character. Although I can say that he's gotten a lot of flack for basically people finding out that you can use him to camp extremely well. Which is a shame because he has a whole bunch of more engaging ways to play. But you know, what do I know? I haven't won like any huge Smash tournaments or anything. I don't even go, but that's... well, that's probably why. Obviously, if I were to go to the tournaments, I would win them all easily, single-handed. Surely. Just trust me, bro. Up Smash is barely not gonna kill Mega Man. These characters both have pretty high recoveries, and coincidentally, they both have large red springs that bring them back, even though Mega Man's is attached to his dog. Oh, a couple of parries there. It does mean that when they're recovering off stage... ooh, nice down bash from Sonic. When they're recovering off stage, they can use their up B special recovery, and they can still take actions after that. Sonic, what are you doing? Okay. Ooh, Sonic got intercepted with a pellet as Mega Man was falling. It actually helped out Sonic because he probably wasn't going to get hit by a more painful move. But if he was trying to go for a quick forward smash, he just wasn't unable to get it done. So most of Mega Man's moves are from his games. The one I would really say isn't is the up tilt. You've seen it a couple of times. Basically, it's a huge uppercut that Mega Man will do. That's actually from Mega Man showing up in some of Capcom's fighting games. Mega Man is not a Nintendo character. He's owned by a company named Capcom. Probably most known for making Street Fighter and a whole bunch of fighting games, which I will say they've kind of heavily leaned into these last, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 years. They actually have quite a number of widely recognizable properties, but they've been mostly sticking to fighting games, which is a little strange. Even though they did make a couple other games along the way, it's almost primarily their focus has been on the fighting games. Which, I mean, obviously, we're watching Smash Brothers. It's not like that's not a thing I want to promote or anything. However, I do also want them to make games with some of their other characters at some point. Oh, Sonic was fast enough. He was able to catch Mega Man's air dodge. That is actually one of the perks of being so fast, that if your opponent tries to tech roll away, or in this case, air dodge away, you can just keep running for slightly longer and then attack them. It kind of takes one of their options out of the equation just a little bit. The only equivalent I've ever seen is that back in Smash 4, Jigglypuff was too slow to walk through characters, so you could actually run into them as they teched, and basically get a guaranteed rest every time. Alright, they just traded places there. Oh, Mega Man getting to hit some pellets against Sonic, although they were up close. There is something I will say about... so, Mega Man's pellets. When you jab forward to... and Sonic got killed by that. When you jab, neutral air, or forward tilt, you shoot out the little pellets. Sometimes they're called lemons because they're effectively just ovals that he shoots. They don't make the opponent flinch often. Or if they do, the time is so short. Oh yeah, see right there, like Sonic did flinch, but it was a very short one, and it's not enough of a stun basically to guarantee that the other pellets will connect. And it takes up 3 of Mega Man's moves. I'm not saying that it's bad, because it is obviously a reference to how Mega Man plays. However, when you play the character, those moves are just so hard to use. It's a lot of risk you go through and not much reward. So usually the good Mega Mans will use all of the moves except that. And one of the reasons why a lot of people have a hard time playing Mega Man is because of that. In that Mega Man does have all the moves he needs to basically cover all of his bases. However, you can't use jab, forward, tilt, or neutral air to do that. And that means that the other moves, in order to cover the same territory, is one way to think about it, have to get a little garbled in the process. And by that I mean that basically you're using certain moves to do different things that most other characters don't need them to do. For example, if someone is slightly in front of you and you think they may or may not approach you, you could shoot out a pellet and maybe you'll hit them. Whenever you try that, you're going to quickly find out that you're going to get hit a lot more often than not. Ooh, that's not going to kill Mega Man. So you got to start using your dash attack. That's the up tilt I was talking about earlier. It has a really strong hitbox at the base of the move, and on the top platform, it killed Sonic. Alright, we've got Isabelle against Peach, a battle of the blondes. It took me so long to come up with that. I was like, these characters have nothing in common. Alright, looks like we're on Dreamland again. It's basically, you know, the battlefield layout. And since we have hazards off, there really isn't a significant difference. I'm sure maybe it's something like the underside of the stage is perhaps slightly different. Oh, Peach is already off stage. Something to watch out for the Peach player, and I guess advice for people who are going against tough Peaches to go against, is that whenever they're in their float, they cannot shield. Now this is great for Isabelle because she has a quick aerial projectile that she can throw whenever she wants, that goes at effectively the same path that Peach's float does, in that it's almost completely horizontal. But it does also apply to other things. If a Peach decides to aggressively float towards you, you can throw out really any projectile and she needs to land in order to shield. And if she doesn't, then she just has to get hit. Another thing to watch out for against Peach... Oh, Isabelle taunted. Another thing to watch out for against Peach specifically is that the turnips actually do a lot more damage than you think. It's like 10 or 12%, but that means that 10 of them puts you at 100. So 10 turnips in the smash attack kills you. Oh, that didn't kill? I know that Isabelle doesn't exactly have the meatiest of hits, but the umbrella is usually one of her better smacking options, and Peach isn't a particularly heavy character. I mean, I guess Isabelle's still doing great. She's at 9%, and Peach is looking at death's door. Slingshot under the stage. Peach is not going to tech that. She's going to get bounced into the bottom blast zone. Getting stuffed out on her aerial approach. Peach hasn't been plucking too many turnips. It's kind of like walking along the edge of a knife for the amiibo, in that if you try to teach them to get any sort of pick-upable projectile, they have a really mean tendency of focusing on that exclusively. There's actually a strategy for amiibo against amiibo warfare where your character spawns something that the opponent can grab, and then the amiibo goes for it because that's what they do. And if it's like a bomb or something, it'll blow up on them. Or even if it's not a bomb, it still basically just distracts the opposing amiibo. Then of course the challenge is how do you train your amiibo to capitalize on the opponent being distracted by a piece of candy on the floor? That's another thing entirely. And if you want to be good, that's another thing entirely. Oh, Isabelle pocketed that turnip. And just gets brought conveniently back on the stage by Peach. I guess that's bound to happen every now and then. Peach steals her turnip back. And then it doesn't come into play anymore. It's a shame. Alright, Peach finally got back on stage and gets sent off it because she didn't bother to tech or get up. When you're on the floor, you have access to different get-up options. Usually, staying still and just taking it is the worst one, I will admit. You can do a get-up roll, you can get up in place, you can do a get-up attack. And you do have the option to wait, but oh, Peach came out with a taunt of her own. This is going to be one of those matches, isn't it? One of those matches which, if you ever see the postseason, which is after the April Anger Tournament occurs, it's how we decide which amiibo need to be retrained for the next year. So, losing actually keeps you in the bracket longer. Once you get to that point, you start to see a lot of the amiibos who taunt. Because every time you taunt is effectively a chance for your opponent to hit you for free. Even though the taunts are cancelable in Smash Ultimate, the amiibos always hold them for longer than is safe. I guess it would be weird if you ever saw an amiibo who would just taunt and then instantly cancel it. It would be funny. That is something that a human player definitely can do. But the amiibo don't. But they'll also do stuff like frame perfectly change which direction they're walking. So yes, 60 frames a second, they will alternate from walking left and right. We've seen it a couple of times, so we'll probably see it at least once this year. Once you see it, it just looks a little unnerving, like the character's glitching out, but they're actually performing exactly as they're intended. They just didn't expect people to be able to do that. And it's even weirder that the computer picks it up. Oh, okay, so Peach got Isabelle with the down tilt there, and Peach's down tilt is actually a pretty good combo starter. But then she didn't do anything with it. Kind of a common trend among these amiibo games. They start and they get something great, and then nothing happens. Peach unnecessarily putting herself off stage. The bait works though, Isabelle falls for it. Gets just a little bit extra damage. Peach has now, well, okay, for half a second there, she got Isabelle's percentage higher than her own. Oh, that's something to watch out for. So, Isabelle's slingshot, first of all, it can kill you. But also the projectile gets weaker as it travels. And in addition to that, in general in Smash Ultimate, projectiles, again, they get weaker the farther they travel. There are some that have exceptions, but normally that's their gimmick, that instead of getting weaker at long distances, they actually get stronger. Kind of like the staff item if you ever play with items on. So what that means for Isabelle is that up close, her slingshot actually hits significantly harder than if you're at a distance. And if you're off stage, and you're at a high enough percentage to get sent off stage, it will kill. I mean, obviously you saw it kill Peach there, but... Basically, what I mean to say is that the ramp-up is a lot more noticeable on Isabelle's projectile. Isabelle has devoted herself to entirely shooting out these slingshot pellets. I will say that it has worked great for her so far, but she threw out what felt like 11 in a row, and didn't really get much off of it. And since they're amiibo, they can't learn to adapt. Oh, gets the fishing rod. Doesn't go for down throw, the combo throw, or even for up throw, the potential kill throw. Especially when you're on a platform, there's less distance for the opponent to travel to the top. It's more likely it's going to connect. Peach? Oh, she might not have kept her float. She did survive with her side B. But she's having a hard time getting through this wall of pellets. Gets hit by an up smash. Isabelle is going to be making it. And for the last match of the video, we have Snake against Ganondorf. Snake is a character who is great at, well, camping at a distance with all of his grenades. And especially if you watched the last match, which, you know, I'd recommend, but I guess you don't have to, the amiibo do have a tendency of just randomly picking them up. The Snake just got sent on the stage. Okay, he does make it back. That was almost 30% of, well, 33% of his stock's gone. Up tilt connects before forward smash. That is something I'll note when I trained Ganondorf. I did want him to sometimes use up tilt. Not as often as he is currently, even though he just effectively landed 2 of them to get a kill. Him having the option of using the move is a lot more threatening than usually when he uses the move, just because it takes so long to activate. But it does hit hard, and if you try to shield it, your shield gets broken. And Ganondorf has many moves which can kill you when you have a broken shield, usually Warlock Punch. Oh, getting gimped, Ganondorf's not going to be able to make that back. So that is the weakness of Ganondorf. He's a heavyweight, but he doesn't have, like, the best recovery. In the amiibo game, though, hitting as hard as Snake's not going to make that, is he? Snake tries to C4 recover, isn't able to. Alright. Anyways, Ganondorf hits really hard, which is great for the amiibo. Well, the Ganondorf amiibo, because they don't normally do as well with the long combos that a lot of humans can do. So the fact that the amiibo can't just is one less thing for Ganondorf to worry about. Alright, that match is suddenly over. That was one of the fastest matches we had. I don't think it's the absolute fastest, but I'm going to check the time on that. 1 minute, 29 seconds. And that's also the last match of the video. Wow, that came fast. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out the others in this series. Unless, of course, you hated them, in which case I guess don't.